Friends of Formula One, Friday at Spa showed two completely different faces, and I'm going to break it all down for you right now. In qualifying, the engine deficit came through loud and clear. The SF-26 simply couldn't hide the gap, separating it from Mercedes on those long Belgian straights, and the Scuderia confirmed itself as the fourth fastest team over a single lap, exactly as many had feared going into the weekend. But in race pace, the story flipped completely and in a pretty dramatic way. The SF-26 put up some surprisingly strong numbers, hinting that Ferrari could genuinely be in the fight for victory come Sunday. The most explosive data point of the entire day came from the one complete long-run lap Charles Leclerc managed, where the Monegasque ran out of electrical energy before the bus stop chicane, lost a staggering 80 kilometers per hour of top speed compared to his peak in the third sector, and despite that massive loss, still delivered an extraordinary lap time. That single number explains everything you need to know about Ferrari's potential in the race. Absolutely insane, and the fans went wild. But here's the thing, the super clipping at Spa was genuinely brutal, with drivers forced to drop an extra gear and lift off the throttle in certain sections of the track just to recover energy. The hybrid system remains a real puzzle. Hamilton is dangerously scraping the asphalt at Eau Rouge with a skid block situation to keep an eye on. The upgraded component won't make it to Spa due to production issues, and the FTM system is still on the car for now, though Ferrari could decide to remove it. And Ferrari is already thinking ahead to Hungary, where the aero and chassis platform of the SF-26 should be able to express itself much more freely. If you don't want to miss any updates on Ferrari and Formula One, leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel to stay on top of everything. With that said, let's get straight into the detailed analysis. Let's start with the big picture of what was a very unusual Friday. Ferrari arrived at Spa knowing full well they were facing a circuit that has historically been tough given the characteristics of the SF-26. With those long, flat-out sections where the power unit gap to Mercedes really makes itself felt. In qualifying, that gap was plain to see, with Ferrari confirmed as the fourth force behind Mercedes, Red Bull, and McLaren, exactly as the Maranello engineers had predicted before the weekend even started. But the biggest surprise came on the race pace front, where the SF-26 showed a genuinely interesting rhythm, even with limited data available after the red flag that interrupted the race simulations. And that could change the entire picture of Sunday's race because on a track where consistent pace makes the real difference, Ferrari has the tools to play for everything. Now let's look at what the actual data from the day was telling us. The SF-26 looked solid and planted on track, with very good handling and a chassis that makes a real difference in the second sector compared to its rivals. That central section, made up of the iconic Pouhon and Blanchimont corners, is fertile ground for the Scuderia, which continues to show itself as a car that's extremely capable through fast and medium-speed sweeping bends. The aerodynamic platform is stable. The drivers found confidence, especially in the chicane at turns 18 and 19. And there's also solid traction putting power down effectively. The flip side comes in the first and third sectors, where the long straights reward engine power and top speed, areas where Ferrari still isn't as competitive as its main rivals. And now comes the real technical issue that shaped Ferrari's entire Friday. The super clipping at Spa was absolutely ferocious, a technical phenomenon that occurs when the electrical energy isn't sufficient to cover the full deployment demand across an entire lap. The engine revs drop significantly on every straight, and hearing the sound of the power unit with super clipping active in a legendary setting like Spa is almost painful to listen to. Ferrari's drivers were even forced to drop an extra gear and gently lift off the throttle in specific sections of the circuit, all to recover energy without losing too much in terms of overall performance. It's surgical work, but it shows just how critical hybrid management is in Belgium. And here comes the most technically delicate part of the Friday. Ferrari experimented with several different hybrid configurations throughout the day, adjusting energy deployment across the lap to find the best possible compromise. At one point, the Scuderia actually sacrificed performance in the second sector to avoid losing too much in the other two, a genuine puzzle to solve. The trackside engineers confirmed it over the radio. The SF-26 loses more than 0.2 in the second sector, precisely during the battery discharge phase. Compared to Silverstone, where Ferrari had found a brilliant hybrid mapping strategy against Mercedes, at Spa the nature of the circuit gives the Scuderia no way out, and hiding the deficit the way they managed to at Silverstone simply isn't possible here. Now comes a detail that could have some serious consequences in the race itself. With Lewis Hamilton, the SF-26 is visibly scraping the asphalt at the significant elevation change through Eau Rouge, something the Briton isn't particularly worried about since he still feels the car as very stable underneath him. But pay close attention here because skid block wear needs to be kept under very tight control, especially with the race in mind. The reason is simple. Ferrari needs to avoid excessive wear and the potential risk of a penalty for skid block consumption, a detail the engineers are monitoring extremely carefully. And now we get to the most explosive and most encouraging piece of data from the entire Belgian Friday. During the only completed lap in his race-pace long run, Charles Leclerc ran out of electrical energy or suffered a deployment issue right before the bus stop chicane. The Monegasque lost a total of 80 kilometers per hour of top speed compared to his maximum in that same third sector. A terrifying drop that would have destroyed any lap time. And despite that staggering loss, Charles still put together a genuinely extraordinary time in that long-run lap. This number perfectly illustrates the enormous potential Ferrari carries in race trim. If the SF-26 can produce a reference lap time like that while losing 80 kilometers per hour of top speed due to energy depletion, it means that with a clean lap and proper energy management, the race potential is truly mind-blowing. And here's an element that shaped the entire end of the day. Pierre Gasly's Alpine hit the wall hard at turn 13 during the race simulations, with the session only resuming when just a handful of minutes remained. That prevented the teams from gathering meaningful race pace data, making the numbers that were collected even more valuable, but also harder to read with full confidence. Understanding how the SF-26 behaves in the remaining sessions will be absolutely crucial, because the real picture still needs to be filled in. Now let's look at what comes next. Ferrari hasn't removed the FTM system yet, and will carefully review the data collected before deciding whether to take it off and gain a few extra kilometers per hour of top speed, but no decision has been made. The upgraded component, on the other hand, won't be arriving at Spa due to specific production issues and will make its debut later in the calendar. The basic objective for Maranello remains to maximize the result of this Belgian weekend, while knowing that the aero and chassis platform of the SF-26 will express itself far better at the next round in Hungary, where the circuit characteristics suit the Scuderia's strengths much more naturally. But the race pace shown today, combined with the spectacular data point of Leclerc losing 80 kilometers per hour while still producing a stunning lap, gives real hope that Ferrari can genuinely fight for the victory in Belgium too, if they manage to qualify near the front row. Friday at Spa delivered an enormous amount of information. Ferrari fourth in qualifying, due to a power deficit that really bites at Spa, brutal super clipping forcing drivers to drop a gear, and lift off to recover electrical energy. The SF-26 still solid and planted with a fantastic chassis in the second sector, hybrid mapping experiments in search of the perfect compromise. Hamilton scraping Eau Rouge with skid block wear to monitor, the FTM system still on the car pending data review, and the upgraded component not arriving due to production reasons. But the real signal came from a surprisingly strong race pace, despite the limited data from Gasly's red flag, and above all from Leclerc's bombshell data point, losing 80 kilometers per hour of top speed in the third sector due to energy depletion, yet still delivering an absolutely extraordinary lap time. Ferrari may struggle in qualifying, but a victory in the race is very much on the table. This fight is far from over,